Group editor Navika Kumar discussed the budget maths and spoke about her fiscal deficit plans and government's stand on GST rationalization. Listen in.
For projected 25, 26, 4.4, right? What is my number given for capital expenditure to the GDP? Fiscal deficit is deficit on the GDP. Now, what is my capital expenditure? Capital expenditure is 4.3% of my GDP. 4.4 for the fiscal deficit, 4.3 is this one. What does that mean? My borrowing, which is my fiscal deficit, goes for capital expenditure, asset creation. That's the way I'm going. And it's also the way in which I'm going, so that my 26, 27 onwards, my focus will be on reducing debt to GDP. I'll keep an eye on my fiscal deficit, but debt to GDP, because there was a committee under N.K. Singh, long time back, which said your borrowing should come down to 50% at least. 60 for the central government, 40 for state governments, a different combination. I am committing myself, which I said in July budget, that I'll bring it down to 50% level by 2030. I've given a path, glide path for it. I've given a clear roadmap to say how I'm going to achieve that. So equally, there are measures being taken to make sure your debt position is improved. You're not going to burden the future generations, but if you're borrowing, you will borrow it for quality expenditure, for creating assets.
Let me ask you about the question that many people are asking, that you promised 11 lakh crores for capital investment. The revised estimates show that only 10 lakh crores were spent. You've again pegged it at 11.2 lakh crores. The question is that you might put it there, but actual capital investment is not taking place. Public expenditure is not taking place. The slowdown, signs of slowdown in the economy are there to see. All of this, does it worry you?
If I know the reason and say this, I'll be happy. I know the reason, I'll tell you. Elections happened in 24. Quarter 1 and quarter 2 suffered because of that, because administration couldn't push the capital expenditure allocations which have been given. Even in spite of the elections, even in spite of 2 quarters getting affected, in comparison to the target of 11.11, we've touched 10 at least. And we'll make up one more. You have a couple of days more, few days before the year ends. I mean, whole March is there. Despite that, we have said the coming year we will give 11.2. That's not a shortfall, that's not a reduction. It is still growing, right? Compared to the RE, it's 10.2% more.
You think the growth slowdown will be addressed?
Of course.
So you think it's a temporary blip? Are you still convinced?
Because elections had come in the way of regular government expenditure towards capital assets. Group of ministers have almost done the work of rationalizing the rates. I had gone through the details, and in fact I did say this to some of the Congress and non-Congress finance ministers, that we can do more in it. Meaning, the rationalization was not just to bring the rates down. Rationalization was also to make sure that where you have leave 0, 5, 10, 5, 12, 18 and 28. We can drop one of the rates, 18 or 12 or whatever, and move those to the closest possible rate, because pre-GST, if you compare with current GST, where we could tax on an average 15% at the rate of 15% on any item, we have gradually brought it down to 11%, meaning before GST, whatever rate prevailed, if we had to continue at the same thing, we could have remained at 15 itself. But we've brought progressively down the rates, and that is why today it is at 11. We wanted to further come down, so particularly essential goods which common people use daily. If we can bring it down, we want to bring as many of them down to say 5%. Or where they are at 18, at least bring them to 12, and so on. I must thank the finance ministers who are in this group who've done intense work on it. Now, I also want to make sure the central government's inputs are given to them so that as a result of that whole thing, the package which we can come up with will be useful, beneficial for the common citizen, and day-to-day goods are taxed minimum. That work will happen soon.
So you're saying 5%, 12%, 18% and 28% should be collapsed into only 3 rates?
No, I'm not saying 3, I'm not saying 2, I'm not saying 1. That is something which all of us will have to sit and work on. As it is, a lot of work has been done about reducing the tax on some items. So some which were at 12 can go to 5, some which were at 18 can come to 12. That work is already happening a lot. So it's now to sit and consolidate this and come out with a report.
By when?
I think it'll be sooner because it consumed a lot of time.
Before the end of this financial year? 31st March se pehle?
No. I'll need to hold a meeting also, no? Before I hold a council meeting.
So central government, you said, wants to give its recommendations. What are the central government recommendations?
No, I don't think I can sit and list it out. We may look at it item by item and so on. हमने किसी एलोकेशन मनरेगा हो या अपने एजुकेशन और हेल्थ आयुष्मान भारत इन जनरल किसी का एलोकेशन कम नहीं हुआ. आप जाके एक बार देख लो. क्योंकि ऑपोजिशन बयानबाजी कर रहे हैं उसमें से ये निकला वो गलत है. बजट बनाने के समय बीई में जो अमाउंट देते हैं उसको बढ़ाते हैं जब डिमांड आता है मनरेगा के केस में. फिर दोबारा रिवाइज्ड एस्टिमेट के समय तक कितना उपयोग में आया उसको मन में रखते हुए आरई फिगर्स आते हैं. अगले साल आरई में कितना उपयोग हुआ है उसको बेसिस में रखते हुए बीई बनाते हैं. बीई टू बीई कंपेयर करके नहीं उस बीई में ज्यादा था इस बीई में कम है. नहीं, जब डिमांड ड्रिवन प्रोग्राम्स, मनरेगा डिमांड ड्रिवन है, अगर डिमांड ज्यादा होते आए तो हमारी स्टेज तक, आपको याद दिलाना चाहती हूं, कोविड के समय मनरेगा में खर्च 1,20,000 तक पहुंचा. हमने रोका क्या? जब डिमांड आता है हम देते जा रहे हैं. इसको हर साल उठाना, हर साल जवाब मांगना, हर साल हम भी दे रहे हैं जवाब. मगर सच्चाई तो वही है, जैसे डिमांड आता है वैसे हम पेमेंट करते जाते हैं.
तो आप कह रही हैं कि मनरेगा यानी लोगों के पास जॉब्स हैं इसलिए मनरेगा का डिमांड नहीं है?
नहीं, हर एक स्टेट में उनके अपने हालात अलग अलग सा है. कहीं एग्रीकल्चर एक्टिविटी ज्यादा जब होता है मनरेगा में डिमांड नहीं होता. टेक्निकली वो इंटेंट, कानून का इंटेंट भी वही था मनरेगा का. एग्रीकल्चरल एक्टिविटीज जब हाई में रहता उस समय मनरेगा एंटरटेन ही नहीं करते हैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट में. एग्रीकल्चरल सीजन होने के बाद उस फार्म वर्कर का कोई जॉब नहीं मिलता, उस समय 100 डेज का अश्योरेंस के साथ मनरेगा. अभी पूरे साल का आप बोल रही हो. सो बहुत सारे इसमें विषय है. सम स्टेट्स आर डूइंग इट इन वन वे, सम अदर स्टेट्स आर डूइंग इट इन अनदर वे. फिर भी हम सबको हाँ करके we give the money allocation as and when it comes.
Alright, then that's the word coming in from none other than the finance minister of the country. Let's also take